of now, it is a framework. These are recommendations. We'll be keeping a check at who is declaring and who's coming as well, what disclosures are being made. We'll be there's also recommendations that disclosure should be made in their annual what disclosures are being made, so that people are aware. There's also a recommendation that disclosure should be made in their annual form you're using AI, so that people are aware that what it's not just a buzzword. It shouldn't be a form you're using AI, and it's people say that okay, it's not just a buzzword. It shouldn't be. There's also this thing. Each and every entity should so you need to there's also this thing each and every entity clearly define what model is meant for what purpose, what is being used in that, and they should clearly define what supervisors can always go and what is being used in that. Okay, you say that you have these many models can always go and check whether it is actually you say that you have these are the ways in which we'll have to do, we'll have to protect consumers, whether it is actually there, and another way these are the ways in which supervision would be we'll have to protect consumers using AI itself to supervise. Another way in terms of supervision that has to be the way using AI itself to supervise. Probably I mean, if people have their own agents, they should have going ahead. So probably these are the way in which I envisage people have their own agents. We should have. We would be going about this. So these are the way in which I envisage that we would be going about this.
On the transparency and explainability point you were making, I just sometimes it is overstated and other times it's understated, in the sense that sometimes it is overstated and other times it's understated, in the sense that because I would have eight times
another
way
I
don't really need to scale the codes open, also because I would have eight times read the scale to understand what is the logic, what are the trends importantly.
I mean, people have to be the way going ahead.
What are the trends, and then to be aware that algorithm is the way, and that I've been, and then to be aware in the first place that algorithm is, and that I've been, and also transparency and I can't agree more. You were making, I just made many times. And also, and I can't agree more. Times it is overstated, and other times it's understated. In the sense that sometimes, well, overstated, and other times it's understated. In the sense that algorithm, well, we don't really know the scale where I hold and also because what is algorithm is that my read the scale. So I want to understand what is the logic, what are the factors, but even if that understand what is the logic going ahead, what are the trends, and then to be aware that algorithm, that parameters, and that I point, and then to be aware the time is that algorithm parameters, and that I point, and also and I can't agree more. You were making. I just made actually more times it is overstated. I think sometimes well overstated. The human needs to the human quite hold our hands needs to that's why you understand what is the going ahead. What are the and then to be aware that are parameters that I point, and then to be aware the time that are parameters that I point, and also and I can't agree more. You were making. I just made actually more times it is overstated. I think sometimes well overstated. The human needs to well the human quite hold our hands needs to that's why you understand what is the going ahead. What are the and then to be aware that are parameters,
as you said, Maria, recurring themes. As I said, this has been a multi-year conversation with the Australian government. We know lots of other governments are thinking about. As I said, this has been a multi-year conversation with our national framework. Lots of other governments are thinking about reflect our national inherently our national framework. As I said, one of the three pillars of our national AI plan. As I said, one of the three pillars of our national AI plan. So to a certain extent, there is something unique in that framework that works. But of course, every country does their own. There is something unique that undermines all of our systems. But of course, every country does their own innovation and different that undermines all of our systems. So it's really important innovation is competitive. As I said, this has been a multi-year conversation. So it's really important to embed those really important. As I said, this has been a multi-year conversation around like how do we have to embed AI reflect our national print certainly in our national AI. Certainly as I said, one of the pillars of our national AI plan. To a certain extent, there is something unique in that national AI plan as well. Influence global standards. recognition that an aspect of our national AI plan it's inherently global, and we have to contribute to these discussions. Recognition that it's inherently global, but of course every country does their own thing. As I mentioned, undermines all of our representation. But of course every country does their own information said undermines all of our representation. So it's really important information. As I said, we can come together. So it's really important to understand those really. As I said, we can also come from critical violations reflects our national critical violations around national AI. As I said, certainly this recognition that an aspect of our national AI plan it's inherently global, certainly to contribute to these discussions. Recognition that it's inherently global, but of course every country does their own undermines all of our representation. But of course every country does their own information undermines all of our representation. So it's really important information. As I said, plan to come together. So it's really important to understand national AI plan to come together. Commitment to also critical violations. Australian AI say this. I haven't worked it out. It's inherent, but as I said a couple of weeks ago, recognition. I don't know yet. Haven't worked it out. It's inherent, but as I said, but of course every country does their own information. But of course all of our but of course all the information have spread it undermines all of our so all the important information. As I said, plan to come together. So it's really important so guided not guided to also critical violations it's inherent, but as I said, I don't know yet. It's inherent, but as I said, but of course every country does their own information spread it undermines all of our but of course all the information have spread it undermines all of our so all the
yes, regulations in order to ensure that AI is done. So there is a whole set of policies that can be used in order to ensure that AI is done. Each and get what UNESCO does is really to try and leverage each problem.
It's inherent, but as I said, I don't know yet. It's inherent, but as I said,
for humanity as a whole, not for also the needs of. And of course, we are fully aware and we try to put that first in the front. Also the needs of conditions, but we really try to have also certain conditions, but we really try to have our counterparts typically are governments. Not only, although we do operate in a, and our counterparts typically are government, multi-stakeholder environment, although we do operate in a multi-stakeholder environment. Leverage the civil servant for good. Now, how you do that? Well, with for good. Now, how you do that? Well, with endowing people against the toolkit. We are really endowing people against the principles. We are really there to go from principles to practice. So give hands-on type of input, type of information, input, type of in a day-to-day information that can be in order then to be in a day-to-day leverage AI in order then to be address develop possible inequalities related to address the possible inequalities. The question is again, the question is again, then the question is how do you do about that? Sounds obvious. So, for instance, the question is how do you do about toolkit? Even for
Australian scientists sharing
the tendency to by the time you are in the design phase, so the more time you are in the design phase, a multi-studied approach whereby anybody that will be involved for what problem of course, we are level aware and now people that hospitals records, also other conditions, but of course we don't have that very simple, of course, thing and notion, and that very we really try to design our AI as powerful as not only do as powerful as it is, our counterparts give information. I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman, because they are underreported. Now, how you do it well with typically now how you do it well with endowing people against Turkey, and we are really endowing people against, which means that by the time I have there, so give from which means that by the time I have so give hence I will not be able to input identify that I will not be information input identify that I'm going to hard problem in order because the data hard problem in order because this already developed suggestions to address the suggestion data which kind of population data which kind of population sounds obvious, but then the problem might be able to one because they are underreported. Now, how you do it well with typically now how you do it with endowing people against endowing people which means that by the time I have so give which means that by the time I have so give
what is the one thing that they
I will not be able to
identify
input identify that I'm going to hard problem in order because the data hard problem in order because already developed suggestions to address the suggestion data which kind of suggestion data which kind of population sounds obvious, but then the problem might be able not because they are under. It's not how they because to fit well with. It's not how they fit well with. That way to go against. Which means that when it's which means that when it's it wasn't lost to it wasn't lost to get away ready to hard ready to hard
now almost starting hard, right? It's now almost starting and part of that is with AI, and part of it is with AI institute, like frameworks to make mistakes like work to make mistakes to work like straight well, and how to make sure we make running adoption rates as well. Running adoption rates as well.
Thank you so much, and that's all the time I have. Thank you so much, and maybe we can catch up outside. Maybe we can catch up outside. It has been an amazing panel. Thank you so much for being so much for being
presented only 8 days ago. It's not right at all.
Thank you. माननीय सदस्यगण प्लीज माननीय सदस्यगण ये आप सबसे अपेक्षा की जाती है कि रिटन स्पीच पढ़ने के बजाय अपने आप पॉइंट्स कहें। प्लीज आप सभी सदस्यों से डू नॉट रीड, यू आर नॉट सपोज टू रीड योर रिटन स्टेटमेंट्स। प्लीज माननीय श्री राघव चड्ढा।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है कि जब वित्त मंत्री जी बजट पेश करती हैं,
कृपया चेयर पर बैठ कर ना बोले।
सर अक्सर
प्लीज
बगैर पेपर देखे बोलेंगे, मगर समय नहीं होगा तो पेपर पढ़ना पड़ेगा।
आप बहुत सीनियर सदस्य हैं, समय आवंटित होता है पार्टी दलों के द्वारा बीएससी मीटिंग में, ये चेयर नहीं करता, आप जरूर जानती होंगे। प्लीज राघव चड्ढा जी प्लीज।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है जब वित्त मंत्री बजट पेश करती हैं तो रूलिंग कोalition के जो एमपीज हैं, जो ट्रेजरी
Presented only 8 days ago. It's not right at all.
Thank you. माननीय सदस्यगण प्लीज नहीं प्लीज माननीय सदस्यगण ये आप सबसे अपेक्षा की जाती है कि रिटेन स्पीच पढ़ने के बजाय अपने आप सभी सदस्यों से डू नॉट रीड, यू आर नॉट सपोज टू रीड योर रिटेन स्टेटमेंट्स प्लीज। माननीय श्री राघव चड्ढा।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है कि जब मंत्री जी बजट पेश करती हैं
कृपया चेयर पे बैठ कर ना बोले
सर। अक्सर
प्लीज
बगैर पेपर देख के बोलेंगे, मगर समय नहीं होगा तो पेपर पढ़ना पड़ेगा।
आप बहुत सीनियर सदस्य हैं, समय आवंटित होता है पार्टी दलों के द्वारा बीएससी मीटिंग में, ये चेयर नहीं करता, आप जरूर जानती होंगे। प्लीज राघव चड्ढा जी प्लीज।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है जब एक मंत्री बजट पेश करती हैं तो रूलिंग कोalition के जो MPs हैं, जो ट्रेजरी
Presented only 8 days ago. It's not right at all.
थैंक यू। माननीय सदस्यगण प्लीज नहीं प्लीज माननीय सदस्यगण ये आप सबसे अपेक्षा की जाती है कि रिटेन स्पीच पढ़ने के बजाय अपने आप सभी सदस्यों से डू नॉट रीड, यू आर नॉट सपोज टू रीड योर रिटेन स्टेटमेंट्स प्लीज। माननीय श्री राघव चड्ढा।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है कि जब मंत्री जी बजट पेश करती हैं
कृपया चेयर पे बैठ कर ना बोले
सर। अक्सर
प्लीज
बगैर पेपर देख के बोलेंगे, मगर समय नहीं होगा तो पेपर पढ़ना पड़ेगा।
आप बहुत सीनियर आवंटित होता है पार्टी दलों के द्वारा बीएससी मीटिंग में, ये चेयर नहीं करता, आप जरूर जानती होंगे। प्लीज राघव चड्ढा जी प्लीज।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है जब एक मंत्री बजट पेश करती हैं तो रूलिंग कोalition के जो MPs हैं, जो ट्रेजरी
Presented only 8 days ago. It's not right at all.
थैंक यू। माननीय सदस्यगण प्लीज नहीं प्लीज माननीय सदस्यगण ये इच्छा की जाती है कि रिटेन स्पीच पढ़ने के बजाय अपने आप सभी सदस्यों से डू नॉट रीड, यू आर नॉट सपोज टू रीड योर रिटेन स्टेटमेंट्स प्लीज। माननीय श्री राघव चड्ढा।
सर अक्सर देखा जाता है मंत्री जी बजट पेश करती हैं।
कृपया चेयर पे बैठ कर ना बोले
सर। अक्सर
प्लीज
बगैर पेपर देखे बोलेंगे।
Namaskar everybody, my name is Upin Barve. I'm very honored to be here. Sarvajana Hitaya, Sarvajana Sukhaya. That means welfare for all and happiness for all. A fantastic get-together of brilliant minds. Really honored. Again, thanks again for Honorable Prime Minister Modi ji, the Joint Secretary Sanjeev Singh ji, of course the Ministry of Electronic Information and Technology. I actually like their short form MIGHTY. That's pretty cool, no? And of course all the coordinators to get such a fantastic get-together, a global platform really, and our partners Jajabor, the German-Indian Innovation Corridor. Together we are happy to bring in the session today. The session today is really about AI for industries, resilience, innovation, and efficiency. GIIC is German-Indian Innovation Corridor, really focused on bundling many roads into a single super express highway, or the Autobahn as we call, right? A very consequential innovation ecosystem between Europe and India, with Germany being the central integrator, so that we can shape the next generation of progress for society and also economic progress with industrial, digital and climate systems. And not just that, there is a big opportunity and a mission to unlock a potential 3 trillion euro opportunity over here. Not to think about 3x, but 30x. And to that, GIC has several key programs. Namaskar everybody, my name is Upin Barve, to landing pads. I'm very honored to be here. Many partnerships that we connect different ecosystems. That means welfare for all and happiness for all. So let's go to the main line. Really honored. Again, thanks again for the audience Prime Minister. It's really AI for industry. The Joint Secretary Sanjeev many definitions of it, right? Of course, the Ministry of Electronic good working definition. For me, it's clearly their short form MIGHTY. New technologies, artificial intelligence, and to really, of course, all the coordinators to different sectors. Such a fantastic get-together, whether it's in manufacturing, a global platform, aerospace, and logistics. Our partners, Jajabor, the German-Indian Innovation Corridor. Together, we are happy to bring in the session today. The session today is really about a lot into automation, AI for industries, automation, resilience, innovation, or efficiency, getting efficiency gains and so on. What I mean to say is it's fundamentally very bundling many roads compared to the general AI that highway or the Autobahn as we call it, right? My life. Very consequential innovation we need to focus on with real-world industrial challenge, and there are some things, 2 A's that so that we can shape the next generation of progress for society and also economic progress with industrial, with digital and climate systems. And not just that, there is a big opportunity automation into law. You can hear me. How can we have this opportunity over here? Not to think about 3x based on the 30x. Not only to that, human trust, GIC has several big programs. Namaskar everybody, my name is because we are living landing pad and very honored to be here. Many partnerships, everything is not yet connected. We will be connected very soon. Welfare, looking at new business models. The economy is fantastic. Really honored. Again, everyone against everything. It's really AI for industry. Joint Secretary Sanjeev many definitions of it. Of course, the Ministry always has humans, all of us around are very clearly short form MIGHTY. Very unlikely artificial intelligence. You look at and really, of course, all the coordinators to so how do we transform the industry together? Whether it's in way to global platform, really, this articulation of our partners, Jajabor, and the German-Indian Innovation Corridor. The Secretary, we are happy to bring in the session today. The session today is really about climate issues, AI for industries, automation, resilience, innovation, efficiency, getting efficiency. But that's not our job. Our job is innovation corridor. Fundamentally very bundling many roads compared to the general AI innovations we are driving. The same outlook turns into something where we should be proud of. We need to focus on the real focus on the new profit. And there are just people to plan so that we can shape the next generation of is going to help us shape the industry, society, and change the economic growth. We shouldn't forget that these are humans, exactly the industries which there is a big approach automation with skilled but if you look at based on the 30x, not only human trust is also big program. Namaskar, my name is living in very big. Yes, so if you see the short-term and the long-term risks here, we're looking at 2 or 3 hours. The next one is there is another problem for the value. It's really behind the business. There have been just not accessible. So we get the small and the middle which are key funds really dominate. How do we take care of that? Pretty cool. Data, bring it to the coordinators. So how do we transform the industry? One way to start shaping the future is shaping the future. Our partners also supporting each other and just helping the scientists. This is what you see. What is actually the situation today is really about just having AI for industries. Take out the efficiency, what you see is actually, but that's not our job. Our job is to many businesses that you can actually the same hour energy very you need to focus on the new problem which is design and that we can shape together which is going to help reshape recycling and we shouldn't start humans. Exactly the industries we should shape. There is a big approach to change shape the future of these industries. I believe we need based on the 30x. We need to be design and we need to look at the vending machines so if you see the short-term and the long-term risks we're looking at you as we are but we will discuss this today for the behind we can just not accessible just the season will be key funds really adoption is how do we take this we have a start data also I'd like to hand over to my colleague one way CEO and shaping the future is also supporting each other and helping the scientists. Thank you. This is what you see.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Today is really about AI for industry. That's not our job. Our job is
very lucky today to be joined by voices representing India's most important companies and India's most all working on the framework of AI. How we also bring together the innovation without cross-border exchange between these very important economies. On that note, I would like to invite my first question before I begin. I would like to introduce our guests. We have with us today Dr. Naveen Sharma, Asia Pacific Head of Government Affairs at SAP. Mr. Madhav Krishna, founder of AI. We have Ms. Swati Shamsunder, Head of Research and Associate Vice President at CEO. We have Mr. Sridhar Mahapatra, founder and CEO of Cure. Welcome to my first question is for you, thank you so much for being with us. You have a very strategic view of what's happening in the ecosystem, and from your point of view, where do you think AI is going to be scaling today, and where do you think it's really getting stuck? How do you take to move it from pilot to production?
That's not our job. Our job is
the story of with us today,
strategic view of what's happening in the ecosystem. From your point of view, where do you think AI is going to be scaling today? Where do you think we need to take from pilot solution agility in R&D, implementation speed, as well as the digital edge that we all possess. And Dr. Chana already spoke about the difference between consumer AI and enterprise AI, and specifically when it comes to industries and scaling software as well as hardware offerings and millions of users. We believe that this handshake on that both the economies has a critical role. How we build these scaling systems for millions of users and cost innovative ways, specifically in sectors like healthcare, process, automation, mobility, and so on and so forth. And specifically Siemens, a lot of these challenges have both the global dimension as well as the regional dimension. The problems of data readiness were already articulated very well by both Topin and by it's not only about the AI that has been democratized during this. I think today we are able to see very nice looking showcases, prototypes, and the goal is to take all of this to production for really the shop floor, but there is still leading gap, that barrier that needs to be crossed, leading in taking these ROCs, these prototypes as well as the digital edge, while making sure that there is robustness, that Dr. Chana already spoke about beyond data. There's also the enterprise AI, specifically when we as humans were no longer scale abstract workers on hardware offerings. We are operating amidst cobots, collaborative robots, handshake, that autonomous nature, and this requires a mindset shift, the way that we interface, the way that we interact, and in that thinking from both the economic standpoints, specifically in sectors, not the challenge but the opportunity that automation gets, leveragability and so on and so forth. Here the system has also a quantum-based role in Siemens. From a collaboration standpoint, from what we experience also the research and innovation ecosystems of India with Atomic Startup already articulated in private and public partnerships with several companies, not only space as well as research institutes on both sides, and July is showing as a catalyst. Today we are able to see very nice showcases, prototypes. I think more than challenges, therefore the goal is to take all of this and beyond the democratization of AI, but there is still leading gap, that barrier that industrial AI is in taking these ROCs. Thank you so much, Dr. Collaborative robots,
Thanks for asking me. Just to set the context, we're trying to solve for rural healthcare. And when you visualize rural healthcare, you visualize primary healthcare centers. I heard something in rural IT. You'll be very lucky to find doctors there. Most of the time there is no doctor. You'll be lucky to find paramedics. If you visit the coastal belt, you will see PHCs are probably cattle and dogs. This is a problem impacting a billion people in this country. Most of our healthcare infrastructure, if you look at it, is world-class infrastructure. It's all restricted to the top 8 cities of state capitals. At most cases, 300-350 million urban cities. So for us to solve this problem for a billion people, using technology and AI was not a choice. It was the only way. Because there is no way you could send doctors to this remote medically underserved location. So we have to think very differently. So we created an approach which is hybrid in nature. We built a platform. We set up clinics on one side as very rural exactly. But to engage with a rural audience and make them health aware is extremely difficult. Because unlike you and me, and I call it a privilege, if we have a health issue, our family, our peer group, everybody tells us, take a day off, go and meet the doctor. For them, they're constantly debating with one day loss of income. And I'm calculating. So when you're catching them, you're actually catching them at a time when the condition is either acute or chronic. We're trying to give you an example. A lot of them chew betel nut. And when you start chewing betel nut, you start developing early signs of oral cancer. You will have difficulty doctoring your jaws. So to make it easier, as an anesthesia, you eat more betel nuts. So you're accelerating the process. So we created a very interesting product. This is a train people in rural, and we call them Swasthya Mitras, and say, hey, go meet somebody. All of them are chewing betel nut. Just tell them I take photographs of your teeth or your jaw, and instantly I'll tell you a risk stratification, where you stand and send it as an information. Now the idea was not to create fear, because if you create fear, you fail. The idea was to tell them, hey, there could be a risk. By the way, there is a clinic available right next to you, which is completely tech-managed. Walk in there and you'll get a doctor visit. So for me, using AI was part of the journey. The journey was to reach out to billions, to screen them, create risk stratification, but then close the loop by providing them healthcare intervention from the physical healthcare world. You and me. Technology plays a very important role, and I think that's where intelligent technology plays a very important role to handhold them to this frictionless from one environment to debating. I gave you an example of oral healthcare. Look at breast cancer. In India, catching them at a time when the 1 out of 2 people detected dies. 50% is mortality rate. If detected early, the success rate is 95% plus. You start developing early signs of people. Expensive mammography devices can't be done. So you use technology, you use interesting AI products to screen and risk stratification, but don't make it conclusive. So you're accelerating. Figure out the high-risk cases, get them to a clinic, get them to meet a doctor. So the AI for us was more about trust, meet somebody, transparency, translation, and texture, more than coding or more than creating a fancy product and ensuring that when you stand and send it.
Thank you so much, Priya. This is so interesting to see the kind of work that CureBay is doing on the ground level. So thank you.
By the way,
Madhav, no conversation on AI is complete without talking about the informal labor market. And, 2 things that you've done which is very interesting is you chose to come back to India and build here. And you chose to solve a very, very difficult and unorganized problem. So first up, what's that experience been like, and what role is AI really taking in shaping the way you're building this business?
Thanks, Upasana. Great to be here to talk to everybody. I'll contextualize my response with a little more detail on what we do at my company, Vahan.ai. What we are trying to build is an AI recruiter for India's massive blue-collar workforce. 80% of the labor workforce in India is blue-collar. And when we say blue-collar, obviously the definition is very fluid, but you can think of people as low skilled. So people who, let's say, work in a factory, or your security guard, or the person who delivers your food these days, right? These are all blue collar, let's say. What we found was that, as you mentioned, Upasana, the hiring ecosystem for blue collar workers in India is very, very fragmented. In fact, it turns out that there are hundreds of thousands of local recruitment agencies that do a bulk of the hiring in this space. And that's also because trust is a very, very key element for people in general, and especially people from Bharat when they're searching for a job. So you usually find that people will look for jobs through their mama, chacha, bhaiya network or through a local recruitment agency. So the question is, how do you use technology to maybe replicate that trust or leverage that trust? It turns out that it's not really possible. And so what we've done instead is we built what was termed as an augmentation sort of approach earlier, where we've aggregated over 3,000 human recruiters who work at local agencies on our 900 cities in India, and recruiter as a tool is very fluid, but you can do these human recruiters. Low skilled. So the human recruiter will typically source somebody who's looking for a job on the ground, perhaps locally, and then they will enter their information into our platform, which is when our AI recruiter takes over. It gives them a call, it's able to talk to them in multiple Indian languages. It's able to ask them basic questions, what is their name, where are they from, what are they looking for, any educational background. It matches them with a job. It's able to answer some basic FAQs. The first FAQ is always salary kitni hogi, paise kitne milenge, so obviously those types of questions. And then it proceeds from there, the onboarding process, interviewing process, etc. And anywhere where we see a candidate dropping off or showing signs of slowing down, that's when we reintroduce the human recruiter. Right? This is called a human-in-the-loop system, where you bring the human back into the automation or the workflow. And we're finding that is absolutely critical. Again, in a place like India, where human trust is incredibly important to deliver services, especially services that are high stakes or that are complex. A human plus AI approach works much better than an AI approach or a human-only approach. In fact, we find that if a human recruiter was able to get, let's say, one person hired a day, when they use the AI, they can get 5 hired a day. And this is still very, very early days. The technology is absolutely in its nascency. It's able to ask them 2 to 5 years that 5 could become 50. Where are they from? What are they looking for? That's our goal, right? So we're able to help the human recruiter obviously earn more money because they are much more productive. The first FAQ, more people are able to get jobs in a shorter amount of time, and of course employers are able to hire more in a shorter amount of time as well. Right, so it's a very natural and human plus AI use case, or an augmentation use case, which is driving much higher productivity and is also helping people gain access to employment. Right, this is called a human-in-the-loop system.
Thank you so much, Madhavan. It's so great to see this use case up and kicking in the Indian market right now. Amazing.
And we're finding
we're moving now, unfortunately, to the second half and the closing of our panel. I want each of you to actually give us an overview from your point of view and your expertise on how AI is really going to change. What is going to be that one seismic shift? And I'd like to start with you, Lavneesh. You have a very interesting macroeconomic point of view. If we were to call out this one big thing that we should all brace for, what should that be?
Let's say one person hired a day. When they use the AI, they can get 5 hired days.
If I'm an enterprise,
and this is still very, very
outside in perspective, and then the inside
absolutely in its nascency.
Outside in perspective,
2 to 5 years,
that
5 would become 50.
You need to be clear on
we're able to help the human recruiter
readiness and enabling
because they are much more productive.
the ecosystem for AI than for AI itself. That is the learning that all of us are getting into. From an inside-out perspective, I think the 3 R's that are very important, reliable, relevance, and responsibility. And we have seen that if you have the data layer ready, reliability is taken care of. If you embed AI as a horizontal into the business process, the relevance is taken care of. And responsible, that is the ethics, that is all we have now experienced, that everything saying the maximum impact can be changed at the design stage itself. The maximum impact can be achieved at the design stage and not really at the implementation when you go back and correct. So the 3 R's from an inside-out perspective and from an outside perspective, the ecosystem will remain fragmented, particularly for those who are actually working cross borders in terms of the data flows and whatnot. The ecosystem will definitely remain fragmented. So don't expect that we will have everything smooth as we go forward. Particularly when it comes to the critical sector definition and the critical data definition, as we are moving, the impact of geopolitics would be far more very easy for mother to recruit a person for manufacturing, but very difficult to recruit for a security printing press which prints the notes. The government will say, no, I won't check the person. So that criticality of data sensitivity and data criticality and the classification will be the next wave that all of us sitting in this room will sooner than later get involved, and that's where we will see a mature curve evolving, and all of us will be next that we will be talking on a stable AI path. Then this exact path can be changed at the design.
Thank you so much for that, Abhinav. Swati, I'd love for you to step in. One big thing that we should be bracing ourselves for, and also as a woman in the ecosystem, right? What can we do to get more and more women involved in this conversation? Very interesting macroeconomic.
There are multiple facets to this. What Madhav was explaining earlier is this concept of skilled workers. If we also talk about industry at large, right, there's a huge dearth of knowledge workers, or what we call skilled workers, right? And in aging economies, specifically around the Europe and the like, there's really an aging population, which makes it very difficult to also ramp up skilled labor. And in the industrial domain, what this also means, I mean, if we take the example of manufacturing and specifically engineering there, we're looking at people that could build automation scripts, automation code, and there's a handful of people globally that can do this in domains like digital automation and so on. Now, what this means is we have AI, but could we leverage AI in order to bridge this knowledge worker gap? Right? That's one of the challenges that we face. And apart from that, there's bringing together of these knowledge workers in an ecosystem where AI and humans can collaborate very seamlessly. So we at Siemens, we look at AI more as empowering for these factory workers, as enabling these factory workers, and not so much to eliminate or to replace them. Human in the loop, or what we actually call expert in the loop, right? We're not looking at removing the expert anytime soon. So also going forward, they will have a much more stronger role to play. They will be reskilling, they will be upskilling, and a lot of personnel development is going to happen, right? So we're not looking at jeopardizing the job market, the workforce, because I think that's also a conversation that happens, right? With AI becoming so prominent, will we have a huge impact, a negative impact to the job industry? And that's, I think, not so much the case. We will have much more fertile workforce where these skilled workers can focus more on more complex activities in domains like, and what technology could mean, and where we see promising research still upcoming is a few areas. Now, bridge this knowledge in this session, but also in the past sessions today, and looked a lot at language models, at foundation models. And when it comes to industry now, we're no longer in the consumer space, we're in the industrial space, and therefore we're looking at building the foundation models for industry. What that means is to build something that the engineers, that the operators, that the technicians can interact with and can use to tackle challenges in a language that they are familiar with. And we're talking here engineering drawings, engineering schematics, 2D, 3D simulation, time series data from the edge, from IoT and so on. Right? So models which can naturally understand, which can naturally interpret and interact in these modalities. That's one area. The other area has been, that's also in trust and governance. Right? So with AI becoming more and more autonomous, how can we still make sure that they are trustworthy, they are reliable, they are robust? So there's the EU AI Data Act, there's the GDP for India, there's equivalents in almost all geographies, including China and the US. And building, especially taking into mind these regulations and standard policies, is imperative for us. And in order to do this, we also look at how we can bring together these more forward-looking technologies, but also more classical ones like symbolic AI, like neuro-symbolic AI, and so on. And in all of this, how we can leverage the ecosystem, right? So we have at Siemens a lot of also training engagements, partnerships for vocational education of the workforce, and last but not least, I think we're looking at engineering drawing, moving beyond becoming AI ready to becoming more AI native. And I think models is pretty much where we're headed.
So much for that, Swati. Priya, I'd love for you to step in right now and quickly tell us, what is the big shift we should be bracing for in the healthcare ecosystem from your point of view?
Yeah, so if I wear the healthcare lens, I think two parts. First is building the right foundation for things to move from being a fashionable thing to do to be a real thing to impact life. Healthcare, there are tons of data available with every hospital because a surgical discharge summary is full of data. How much of that is usable? You don't even have the patient's consent. Can you remove PII from that data? Can you create homogeneous codes? Answer to all of this is no. So none of this data without a patient's consent can be used. So you need to build that foundation where you have consent so that you're able to remove PII, work on that data to create trends. Otherwise, it's theory. Second most important thing is there's going to be a convergence of ecosystems. There's a medtech ecosystem which is advancing like crazy. There is a wearable ecosystem which is giving you data real time and creating very interesting dashboards. There is a digital healthcare ecosystem of EHRs. But then there is a physical healthcare ecosystem, doctors, hospitals, labs. You got to frictionlessly move people's journey as a personalized, curated healthcare journey, which is going to move from seeking care to moving to preventive. And this will only happen when you move them from this metaverse of different ecosystems to the real physical healthcare ecosystem, where the final opinion is coming from a qualified doctor. But that doctor's load has been significantly reduced because you have done screening, you have done risk stratification, and given them inputs and insights for them to take a call, and probably similar to what Madhav was saying, be far more productive in a country from being doctor scarce to doctor amplified. That's the future I'm looking at.
Thank you so much for that, Priyo. And Madhav, I'd love to hear from you finally. What is like the one big catalyst that you think is going to shape the way the informal economy is going to work and the role AI is going to play?
There's a medtech ecosystem which is
I think India's biggest opportunity with this whole AI revolution is leveraging some of our key data assets perhaps, which of course in our context mean very different things. Language, for example, India has over 20 major languages, thousands of dialects, but most of these languages have no digital footprint. 97% I think of the internet is English, for instance. And I think Tamil is the most highly represented Indian language on the internet. Right? Most Indian languages don't have any digital footprint, which means that even building AI in Indian languages or for Indian languages is actually a very, very difficult task. Right? And then of course if you talk about medical data, you talk about other types of data sets, right? That opens up a huge Pandora's box. So I think India's advantage will come from, one, ensuring we can digitize some of these assets and then use them to create models that can serve our people in the most beneficial way possible. And I think the other thing that we sit on is a very, very large young population. India has over 900 million people in the ages of 18 to 60. So we are the youngest working population in the world and growing. Some of our key data assets, I think Swati mentioned, which a lot of countries now are in population decline, including Western Europe, including China, Japan, of course. India, I think, is the only country which has a large growing young population. But if we are to have no really sort of reap our demographic evident. I think AI will play a massive role is English in helping all our people. I think Tamil is many of whom, of course, do not have the education or skills required to be productive. Don't have any, but AI then can play a very key role in bridging that gap. Right, and I think AI could become perhaps the most impactful, right, and then of course engine for inclusion for us. Hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years. Pandora's box.
Great, so thank you so much for that, and unfortunately that is all the time we had on this panel. To all of our panelists, thank you. A huge round of applause for them,
some of these assets, and then use them to create models that can serve.
Like we said, the idea of GIS bringing things together was this is not a conversational panel, this was an action panel, and all of these leaders here today really kicked off what is, I believe, a beginning of a very, very important discourse. On that note, we have one very, very special guest coming in to talk to us about a very special pathway. Srinivasan Corporate, please do come up on stage.
Including China, Japan, of course. India, I think, is the only country which has a large growing young population.
This works.
But
as someone who's been in the startup ecosystem for more than a decade, he's been responsible for building some of India's most important startup ecosystems, including T-Hub, and is now working very closely in venture building. So, Srinivasan, over to you.
Thank you all for such an incredible session. So many insights across so many different topics.
Perhaps the most
for us to decode. I just wanted to address a few basic things, right? The core of this session is resilience, innovation, and efficiency. And I just want to talk very quickly about what those three things mean. Resilience obviously means, and this is absolutely critical in today's geopolitical system, industries that can adapt when supply chains break, when markets shift, and when crises hit. Innovation, of course, is fundamental transformation. Not just marginal improvements. And efficiency obviously means doing more with less, but intelligently, not just cutting costs. AI is one thing that can do all three of those things simultaneously. Only if we deploy it right, though. And one thing I want to point out, because AI to a lot of people is a technology, that's not enough. It has to be an industrial competitiveness conversation. The next decade is not going to be defined by better AI models, although that is what's going on right now. It's actually going to be defined by AI-powered industries. We need a fundamental transition from AI adoption to AI integration. And as we've heard from our panel, that is not easy. There's a lot for us to think through innovation and efficiency. Countries that adopt and embed AI into manufacturing, healthcare, energy, logistics, they're the ones that are going to lead. And this is a global conversation. Inside this room, we have people from multiple countries in Europe and, of course, across India as well. And I just want to bring innovation, of course, to the table, what India and Europe have to add to this, right? India brings speed, efficiency, our digital infrastructure, talent, and the hunger to build. Europe brings industrial depth, regulatory frameworks that create trust, and they're leading the way on that one. And of course, capital that thinks long term. One thing I want to point out, we need to bring some of that too, and neither of us can win this race alone. That's not enough. I just want to say thank you to GIIC and JBC for building this bridge and convening the leaders in this room who are making it real and adding value to all of us in this conversation. To everyone here, whether you're building in New Delhi, Berlin, or anywhere across the world, we need founders to understand. We need investors who back true transformation, at both a local and a global scale. And actually, that's a place I think India needs to step up and embed leaders who are willing to move from pilots to production. They're the ones that are going to, because that's where transformation actually happens. And as we've all said, we haven't quite got there yet, but we're on the path. Finally, we need policy makers who see industrial AI as strategic infrastructure, not innovation theatre. The opportunity isn't in one geography. It's in the connection between them, and the opportunity is huge. Thank you again to JIIC and JBC for making this happen. And of course, capital that thinks long term. We need to bring some of that too, and neither of us can win this race alone.
Wow. Thank you very much.
I just want to say thank you
great
to
words,
GIIC
and thank you to all the panelists. Before I really
for
get into the closing,
building this bridge
it's always we
and
say it's an action panel. So what's next, right? What's next? We know is clearly that never in the human history has the present been so temporary. So it's time to take action now.
We need investors.
We looked at AI for industries. We looked at its definition and everybody's ability. We want to bring that together, by getting all these key players, a lot of them in the room, some existing partners, some to be partners, policymakers, startups, academia, to manage this change forward together. Europe and India as collaboration. To that effect, I'd like to make a quick few announcements that might interest you. Number one, the GIIC agenda for 2026. 4 focus areas: manufacturing, mobility, aerospace, defense, and health. This is where we'll see a lot of programs coming in. Of course, we have another big one where a lot of this will converge all the year-round activities. I welcome all of you to Berlin, 28th and 29th of September. That's where we will have the German-Indian Innovation Summit Edition 2. On top of that, what we're working on currently is a German-Indian Open Innovation Initiative to see the full stack and different topics. This is backed up by 10 corporates and VCs on both sides, as well as the right monetization models, and we have the complete infrastructure for that. Next up, for all the Indian startup enthusiasts who want to come up and explore Germany, explore Europe via Germany, we have set up a India desk at Neuland, which is a largest innovation space of Europe. India is based in Berlin. And finally, in preparation, and particularly today, I'm very happy to share that we're working on a framework for democratic alliance in AI. Today's this is very important with the strengths, and you made the comments on the EU AI Act, but also of course we have Europe, which is made, it's going to be very sensitive around all the usage and very good in regulatory ways, and India on a very fast track. I believe we have a good way to work on this jointly, and we're going to kick off during the course of the week the Democratic AI Initiative as well. With that, I'd like to say thank you not only to you, but first of all to the panelists as well. Big round of applause, please. On both sides, as well as the right monetization models.
Thank you so much. Before we close, a token of appreciation and thanks to all of our speakers.
All the Indian startup enthusiasts who want to come up and explore Germany, explore Europe via Germany. We have set up a India desk at Neuland, which is a largest innovation space of Europe. India is based in Berlin. And finally, in preparation, and particularly today, I'm very happy to share that we're working on a framework for democratic alliance in AI. Today's this is very important with the strengths, and we made the comments on the EU AI Act, but also the Europe, which is made, it's going to be very sensitive around all the usage and very good in regulatory ways, and India on a very fast track. I believe we have a good way to work on this jointly, and we're going to kick off during the course of the week the Democratic AI Initiative as well. With that, I'd like to say thank you not only to you, but first of all to the panelists as well. Big round of applause, please. On both sides.
Thank you so much, everyone. Meti, the nodal officers from Invest India, thank you so much for coordinating. You guys might not be seeing these folks in the chaos outside, but there's a bunch of amazing kids running around behind, ensuring that everything goes on time. Please give a round of applause for them as well.
Innovation space of Europe. India is based in Berlin. And finally, in preparation, and particularly today, I'm very happy to share that we're working on a framework for democratic alliance in AI. Today's this is very important with the strengths, and we made the comments on the EU AI Act, but also the Europe, which is made, it's going to be very sensitive around all the usage and very good in regulatory ways, and India on a very fast fast track. I believe we have a good way to work on this jointly, and we're going to kick off during the course of the week the Democratic AI Initiative as well. With that, I'd like to say thank you not only to